Hi, this week's lecture is just an offline recording. Yesterday I posted another video that included solution for the activity 9 and solution for last week's quiz. Please go ahead and watch that. And this video is instead of tomorrow's live lecture. I'm gonna put it on YouTube so that you can watch this. And please watch. This is one of the important lectures that is useful in terms of knowing password rules and authentication and authorization when it comes to security. Um, Today's lecture agenda is credentials, authentication, and authorization, conceptual review of what is a credential, what is authentication, and what is authorization. Then we will see how secure computing and networking will be possible, and we'll talk about passwords, pins, and their problems. In the activity also, you will uh, dive deep into security and privacy, um, and it is actually a practical and interactive activity that makes you think about your passwords and all the posts and all the interaction that you have in social media. First of all, we need to know if we are using a free service, like all the services in social media. Are they really free? Um, we should think twice about it because um, nothing comes for free. And when something is for free, it actually is either using our information, not in a bad way necessarily, but anyways, uh, it is the platform that even if the creator or the owner of the platform like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or all the social medias that exist and are popular, that are free and we are using, you and I are using. But anyways, it's a trade-off between using the free service and putting out some personal information. Um, no matter if you like it or you don't like it, you are posting some personal information that later on probably can be useful for some criminals to use them to guess your passwords and stuff like that, even if the uh, that free services owner doesn't want to misuse your information. In the old days, internet was not like this, so it wasn't this smart, and it was very difficult to guess who's behind the password. But these days, these cartoons are nicely showing that these days you can really guess based on the searches that somebody is making, based on its social media, and so many sources of information that might leak to the internet, and all of them are basically showing the identity of the person, or not 100%, but to a good extent, it is revealing the identity of the person that's behind a specific account or owns a specific user ID or password. And we need to distinguish between credentials and authentication. Credential is basically the user ID and the password that you have. It includes uh, your identification, and also it shows the association to a specific place or website. And in real world, if you take this as a passport, it actually shows your identification, your personal information, and it associates you to a country. And that passport basically shows that you're a citizen of the country that has issued that password. Um, in the internet also it's like that. You have your identification, and that identification comes handy when you want to open an account and associate yourself with a website or a service, or so on and so forth. But authentication is actually when that website or that service identifies you as a user with access to an extent of information of that service. So authentication is basically the action that takes place when you enter your credentials onto a website, and that website basically authenticates your information and checks the authenticity of the information, and basically verifies that it's you that trying to log in and use the service. Authorization comes after authentication. Once a service or a website authenticates you, it gives you um, access to a specific level of information. And this is where the basically the whole story of malwares and the whole story begins. And that is basically why we have different levels of permission uh, to uh, to do different stuff. The least privilege principle um, is uh, is a good rule if you are in the future want to become a admin of a service or a network. Um, this rule is telling us give minimum authority needed to every single user. You have seen we as users of typical users of web services or websites, typically when you are creating an account, this is an account that has minimum accessibility, minimum possible accessibility to the extent of information that is available on that website. And you will not be able to change the content, you will not be able to access some specific parts that might be for some high level users. So it's very obvious that everybody should have the least privilege possible and usable for the level of the account that they have. High level authority is needed to reset password rapid inside program. This is actually the duty of the programmer of that website, not you and I as the users of the website. So even you and I as IT people, if we are going to do something, authority, having full authority over something, always is dangerous, and there is a risk of deleting things that might cause problem for you, for your company, and always there is only one account typically for that gives full authority, and that password is very secure and that account is very secure, and is unique. So only one or two people maybe can have access to that and change the things. Uh, on operating system level, also we have this authorization. So authorization, if you right click on a folder, if you're using Windows, on a folder and then go to properties and check security tab, you will see that there is the ownership of that folder is is shown. It may not be tangible when we have only one operating system, one machine, but it makes sense on server level when multiple people want to access multiple folders and files, and becoming owner of a file or folder is the minimum, basically minimum condition that you can have access to that file or folder. And in different, in for instance in Linux, chmod command shows you a list of all the folders and all the files and who owns these commands and what kind of access do they have, if they can only read the file, if they can modify the file, and all that will be listed. On the browser level, this from this slide, you will see until the end of these slides, there is a lot of links, and each of these links will take you to a an informative website, a useful website. So please, as you're checking these, open the watching this video, open also the slides so that you can click on the links and you can check those websites. HTTPS stands for secure, uh, which is the basically a protocol that the domain is checked, the domain is verified, the ownership of the domain is verified, and everything is verified. Um, and on top of that, the all the queries between the client and the server are encrypted. So nobody between in the middle of this path, if they get the information, they will not understand anything unless they can, unless they are able to decode that. HTTPS basically is a service that you should purchase after you purchase your domain. You should submit documents and all that. So go check these websites to see how you can make your domain HTTPS. Um, and in domain name servers, privacy and security, you need to go check these. So these are the basically the authorities that monitor the domain name server privacy and who owns what, and basically they can give these certificates, secure certificates type, if you need. Check these. These are, they give you wonderful information about the badges that your domain can have, and uh, these are all sort of websites that are uh, verified, and they can verify your domain so that you can show the customers, show the user that your domain is safe and secure and it belongs to whoever, all the information is transparent, and all that. Also check these links for more information on these topics if you like. This is a YouTube video from a very old movie that shows how passwords existed in old days, and it's not a new thing. People used passwords in the past to uh, basically phrases, specific phrases or things that were common in a community. So when you wanted to enter their parties or something, you had to say that. And this YouTube video is nicely showing that. But in today's world, passwords basically mean what we use to authenticate ourselves to web services and web servers, and in the world of web. Now look at uh, the overall total amount of uh, possibilities that can happen so that your computer, all the possibilities that the criminals, the hackers can use to hack your PC. If you're interested in internet security, go ahead and Google each of these keywords. There's 8 categories here, 9 the 8 categories basically, and each of these categories are divided into multiple subcategories. If you're interested, use this tree as a reference and Google each of these to see what you can find for every single type of hacking. Most common methods of hacking are weak. Basically, one of them is weak passwords. When you choose a weak password, for so many reasons, we try to use weak passwords. The we want to be able to memorize these passwords and remember whenever we need. So if we choose complicated passwords, we will not be able to memorize all of them. This one shows top 200 most common passwords. So click on this, you will see all the common passwords. The most common, probably, as you can guess, is 1234566, or just 1234. Has been used in millions of websites for millions of users. So these days, uh, these websites don't even allow you to choose such a password by checking your strengths of your password and stuff like that. Um, and also, these are also these links all show in different ways, show the commonly used passwords that you should 100% should avoid choosing even passwords that are even similar to these, because that similarity makes guessing or finding your password a little bit difficult, um, a little bit more difficult than just guessing these passwords. Probably a good practice for a hacker is to write a bot to test all these uh, commonly used passwords. And if you are one of those, in less than an hour, your passwords can be found by them. So check these links to see what is common password and try to avoid these common passwords. And on top of that, you and I as humans, we cannot create real random values. Always there is a bias. And it is really not possible for people to generate just random values and characters to be their passwords. We typically use the phrases that we remember or personal stuff, which is easy to guess if there is a leak of information of your personal things on the internet, especially on social media. Um, and forget or recover your password is not also uh, a good practice. So if you say you forget your password, as a website will try to send a link to your email, so they assume that your email account is secure, but it may not be the case. If you're hacked, if an account is hacked, there is a possibility that your email has also been hacked. So um, this may not work in the critical situations that you see that something fishy is going on. And security questions are also not recommended because these security questions typically ask, they rely on the fact that they are asking questions that you only know the answer to, but um, there is a good chance that some of these information can leak in social media, and by googling that, they can find some information that can guess the answer to some of these security questions. One good option here, though, is using websites or using services that give you completely random phrases. So if you click on this, this is a website that rolls dice for you. So gives you random numbers and random phrases, and regardless of the question, you can use these random phrases for your recovery, password recovery questions, and keep them in some place. And password edit rules, we have the now. If you look at the rules, they are typically um, between a minimum and maximum. So minimum 8 characters, uh, and no matter how difficult you make it for the password, there is always a way that people can use to make it easy. So imagine if you have all the rules for selecting password. Minimum 8 characters, must have uppercase, special character and must have a number, and this is what people can come up. Password, exclamation mark two. So easy peasy again. So no matter how strict rules we have for selecting the password, still there is a way it can be bypassed and a very easy to guess password can be generated. So these rules are really sometimes not very helpful um, if you want to limit the number of characters for your passwords between a minimum and maximum. Still, it can be too short, and for the strength, if you ask the user to add some alphanumeric numbers and digits and everything and symbols. You ask them to make their password a combination of all of these. You ask them choose something that is meaningless and it is not in the dictionary, and put expiry to that. So ask them, okay, now your password is valid for 3 months, and every 3 months you have to choose a password that has not been used before. These are all the rules that we have seen, but still, these are not enough, not really enough. And um, we hear news everywhere, every day from here and there that some important websites are cracked, and the main culprit for these cracks that are successful are these passwords. So look at this example. It is long and strong. If you look at this password, say, yeah, what a password. But in reality, it is basically a keyboard pattern that somebody has used, and whatever pattern you use from a keyboard is a pattern and is a break to the rule that will make your password based on a rule, not being completely random. The most strong passwords are the passwords that are really random. There is no pattern. So when your password relies on a pattern on a keyboard, it can basically be um, prone to be stolen or to be found. If you look at this, this is a pattern: 1 3 QEADZC, and then after this C, all the characters after each keys are entered: at sign, dollar sign, W, R, S, F, X, and V. So this can be easily detected by a couple thousands of tries of a bot that knows keyboard pattern. The keyboard pattern is defined, and it's not that secure actually. And trying couple thousand times is a fraction of a second for uh, high speed processors that these days we have. So billions of processes can take place in 1 second. So imagine uh, testing 10, tens of thousands of patterns is just a couple seconds maybe. Um, for password defense, so we said that long length versus cryptic strength. So if you have a long password, obviously, the longer the password, the more difficult it will be to guess, because you're simply adding to the number of possibilities when it comes to random check. And when you are adding to the number of possibilities, it takes longer time for that password to be detected. So generate a long password and phrase. These links all help you click on all of these, please, when you are watching this video. Stop the video, click on these, go and investigate these websites. These are all amazing websites that help you uh, and basically give you a random long password or phrase that you can use uh, for your credentials. And these are the list of previously leaked passwords. It's interesting. Just click on these, go see what has leaked so far, and never use those passwords. One way to make everything automated probably is to use password manager softwares such as 1Password or other good softwares that if you Google you will find. There is plenty of these passwords. What they do is actually you have to only create a very long phrase and a complicated phrase, and that phrase is basically is the key to all other passwords. It's as if all these imagine all these passwords are like keys, and you put all those keys in a bag in a or in a safe box, and lock that. And instead of keeping or memorizing where you put all those keys and memorizing all those passwords, you just memorize one strong random long password, which is the key to all those keys. And then once you log in, the software automatically detects which account you want to log in, and automatically replaces the username and password over there. And this is a good practice to use these softwares, even though they introduce their own vulnerabilities. So if somebody finds that safeguard, basically that software's password, they will have access to everything, but still, it's better than not using those. Um, Most common methods of cracking is social engineering. So if you're an important person or if somebody wants to hack you, the best way to do it is through social media. So they can find information about you, to some extent personal information about you, and through that they can guess the passwords that you might have used or the answer to the password recovery questions that you might have. And also lots of phishings can happen on social media for basically uh, by encouraging you to click on something, or encouraging you to leave a post or do something. The strongest technique that exists and many servers these days use, and this is the building block of um, uh, this is the building block probably of blockchain, is to hash. Hashing is converting a, a phrase, whatever that phrase is, whatever length that phrase has. It can be it can be a page. It can be something short. It can be a page. No matter what it is, hashing converts that to a fixed length combination of different characters, numbers, and alphanumeric characters, as you can see here. So one good way, probably the best way that so far exists, is that you have password, and when you enter that, the website doesn't save it like that. The password becomes hashed, and then hashed password, and at the same time randomly another password is selected for you, and that also gets hashed. So this is basically the first part that you choose, and this is the second part that uh, is chosen for you by the website, and both of them get hashed. And those uh, hashed password and hashed salt, this is called salt, the thing that the basically the software or the server selects for you randomly, then both together become the hashed password for you. And this hashed password is stored in the DB. Why do we care? Why is it important? Why is it good? Because now, if the database of that website is stolen, they will not be able, there is almost no way to reverse this process. So, if you want to reverse the process, this is what will happen. If the database of this website or server or whatever is cracked from the database, they will not be able to reverse engineer this and find the password that you have put there. Plus, it's almost impossible to find this random number. Now, look at this. If somebody has the database and has all these hashed passwords, if they want to go back and find this based on these calculations, it will take, if for a eight letter password, uh, here you see four, only four random numbers here and four numbers for the salt. If it gets hashed, it takes 32,500 years for a CPU working at 5 megahertz to guess this, because it has to create all the possibilities and check if that is the case, if that is the correct password. So it takes this many years. If you know about quantum computers, they can do trillions of times more faster computation than our most powerful computers that exist in the world today. So they say that if a quantum computer comes to play, even this will not be secure, and the password can be guessed in a fraction of a second, while it takes 32,000 years for a supercomputer to guess this. Um, so going one level about that is the two-factor authentication, the thing that we are also using at Seneca. We have the software. So um, now, this two-factor authentication is a mixture of what I know, which is the password, you know your password, and what you have, which can be a device that you have with you, like your phone. So in this case, not only you have to know your password, but also uh, you have to click uh, on the prompt that appears on your phone to confirm that it's really you that trying to log in to that system. This increases the security and takes the security to the next level, because now, um, even if you lose your password, or somebody knows your password, they will not be able to log into your account unless they have your phone as well, which becomes really more difficult compared to the case that you only have password. A third level security, which is really difficult to do, even though in movies they show how they copy fingerprints on piece of uh, flexible jelly material or something, and then they put it there. Or for retina, they kill the person, they take the eye out, or things like that. So it is really, it shows how tough it is. So um, the really the third level is um, using biometric information, which is basically who you are. You have your fingerprint and or your eye specific pattern of your iris and stuff like that. So it is the third level of security. But the problem is that these devices that work this way are expensive, and they have to have the database of you, and things are a little bit more complicated when it comes to the third level, three-factor authentication. Um, Password plus phone plus your fingerprint and everything. Um, but this is the most secure uh, method of authentication that is known so far. PIN numbers, from another side, are not really uh, secure and good way, even though banks are using these. So with 4-digit pins, um, you can have only thousands of possibilities, like 10,000 possibilities. And most people use year, month of their birth or something like that, so that it becomes easy to remember. Now, if we take these possibilities out, dates, years, things like that. Now, look, only 700 pins, or 7% of the whole range, remains that are some secure possibility for you to use. That is why this kind of pin authentication is really not secure. Based on statistics, 1257 or 1571 are the most. 1257 is the most commonly used pattern. These are also common. What is not very common is 6, 8, and 9. These numbers are least used numbers based on statistics of ATM passwords. Um, Better password policies, actually, to now if we want to increase the quality of our passwords, these are good things to know. User IDs, uh, typically websites are encouraging people to use their email addresses uh, for their username part of their credential. If that is the case, because everybody knows your email, or at least it's something public, right? It's not that you only know your email address. By knowing the username of the credential, 50% of the difficulty of guessing your credential is gone. So typically, this is the suggestion: try not to use your email addresses as your user IDs in the credential. Increase the number of characters if there is no maximum. If there is no maximum requirement, you can increase that, and by increasing the number of characters, the number of possibilities increase, and the time that it can take for a bot to guess that password increases significantly. Um, and the complexity rule allow is that, don't make it simple, and allow all the characters, including space, all the characters that you think um, might be difficult to guess, is a good practice to do. And password expiration typically should be based on the risk. So if you are, either you are forced to change your password from time to time, or you decide to change your password, it should be based on the risk, and not just the periodic time. And Obviously, don't use previously breached passwords, or things that can be found in a dictionary easily, or things that are related to some way to your personal information. And The best way is to use two-factor authentication, um, that takes the security to really a higher level. And check these websites to see how you can use hashed format. You can basically convert. Hash is a standard format, so you can is an encryption thing, so you can convert your phrases to hashed codes and use these hashed codes um, as your password. And also check these websites for they give you basically advice on how to uh, use a private key uh, to convert your password with a private key to convert to another password, another more difficult password to use and store on these clouds and then use them online. These are good websites. Please go and check them. Um, and so we learned that when it comes to authentication, multi-factor authentication is gives the highest security. If it is two-factor or if it is three-factor, every time one factor is being added, it's another level of security. So it is multi-factor authentication is probably the thing that all the servers or uh, all the accesses that are access sensitive are using. For the authorization, when you're authorizing now, if you're designing something that authorizes people based on their credentials or based on the multi-factor authentication, still give them the minimum possible access for the things that they want to do, not anything more than that. And for the enterprise level, also go check these links for the enterprise level security. They can give you good information. Um, and for the uh, applications that are being installed on your system are also very sensitive, as you all know. Um, do not trust any of these applications unless they are really well reputed and they are known, and to some level their security has already been checked. Um, Otherwise, do not trust these applications and do not just simply install on your phone or computer. And for the data, it is good to use encryption. So if the backup offers encryption, if you're using online or cloud backup, or you're using just zipping your file and backup, put passwords so that even if people find some of your stuff is hacked and your information is online, at least it cannot be opened and it cannot be interpreted or accessed. Okay, looks like this was all for today. Um, Please, these slides had a lot of links. Please review these links, and I will see you next week, Wednesday next week. And please don't forget to do the activity and quiz up this week as usual. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.